Jerry Adams speaking there. Well, we can take a look now at how the press is reacting to Margaret Thatcher's death, starting, of course, in the United Kingdom itself. Florence VILLEMINOT is here from the press review team. Hi there, Flo.
Hey, Kat.
We're going to start with the Independent newspaper from the UK.
That's right. Well, it's interesting to note that, well, the British press is just as divided as all those comments we were seeing. The Independent is quite sober. There's a photo of Margaret Thatcher with just these words, the woman who changed Britain, so very sober there. You get the impression that the left-leaning press is trying to be, well, very measured and respectful of her death.
Especially in these early days, of course.
Especially in the early days. If we look at The Guardian as well, they have a 16-page supplement today with, once again, just a very simple photo of Margaret Thatcher. And this quote from one of her biographers, Hugo Young, he said, "She became harder than hard." And in their editorial, there's this quote that I pulled out that says, "There should be no dancing on her grave, but it's right that she should not have a state funeral. Her legacy is public division, private selfishness, and a cult of greed that shackles the human spirit."
And quotes like that, "She became harder than hard," they could be spun both ways, really, couldn't they? Supporters would say, yes, we needed someone who was hard, and opponents would say, well, at what cost? So, yeah, very interesting reaction from the left-leaning press. What about the right-leaning press?
Well, the right-leaning press, let's look at the Daily Mail, a very simple, the woman who saved Britain, and
right, that's a bit more emphatic, isn't it?
Absolutely, much more smiley photo of Margaret Thatcher there. They say inside that she does, in fact, deserve a state funeral and harshly criticize all this celebration that we've been seeing.
OK, such as those street parties we were showing just before. What about here in France, then? Of course, Margaret Thatcher had quite a stormy relationship with France and the rest of Europe during her time in office.
Absolutely. Well, the press here is also equally divided. I think Aujourd'hui en France sums it up quite well. On aimait la détester, the woman we loved to hate. Now, Libération, the left-leaning newspaper, on the other hand, well, they call her la grande faucheuse, so they don't mince their words there because that means the great Reaper. So once again, a very harsh looking photo of Margaret Thatcher there. In their editorial, Libération laments the fact that her ideology, so Thatcherism, continues to live on today, even though Libération says it's failed time and time again. And they, in fact, say that, well, the crisis that we're experiencing right now is a direct consequence of her policies. Let's take a look at the right-leaning press now. Le Figaro, much jollier photo there of Margaret Thatcher. Le courage au pouvoir, so they applaud her courage in power. In their editorial, they say that she saved Britain from this unavoidable decline. And they say that France and indeed Europe could really use a leader like Margaret Thatcher.
Very interesting to see that being said in the French press. Of course, Nicolas Sarkozy was saying work more to earn more. He was probably a bit of a pupil of the Thatcherite school, wasn't he? But
absolutely, and people are pointing
popular.
out that France today is very similar to what the UK was before Thatcher.
High unemployment, yes, sluggish economy. Very interesting. Thanks very much. Florence VILLEMINOT, our press reviewer. Well, Margaret Thatcher's death comes at a time when Britain is once again re-evaluating its relationship with Europe. She was a leading figure during the introduction of the single market in the 1980s. But as former French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing has noted since her death yesterday, she was also firmly opposed to the idea of political union and a staunch defender of the free market. Mark Thompson looks back on the complex relationship between Thatcher's Britain and the young European Union.